You're listening to the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast. Howdy, I'm Austin Larson, and this is the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast. Thank you for joining us for this very special bonus episode, hence the very special bonus intro. I was just kind of fucking around. I got a laugh out of it. I hope you did as well. Like I said earlier, this is a very special interview. This one isn't totally based around tattoos, but there will be some discussion of tattoos. I'm joined by my guest today, my very good friend, my best friend for, years now? Spidey York.
How are you doing, everybody?
Thank you so much for being on the show, Spidey. We're here in picture-perfect Pendleton, Oregon. We're actually in my childhood bedroom. Thanks again, Mom and Dad, for letting me borrow this for the interview. Like I said, this isn't totally about tattoos. This is more or less a linear, somewhat linear, but mainly just a condensed look at the past decade for you, Spidey.
Yeah, it's, let me just say this is a blast from the past, first of all, being in this room. We have a lot of memories in this room here. Yeah, this will just go over roughly past 10 years. So where exactly is it that you want to start?
Well, actually, we're going to start fairly recently. You just got out of jail, right?
Yeah.
All right. So how long were you locked up for, man?
I was locked up for 3.5 months.
3.5 months. How long was the sentence originally supposed to be?
6 months. So I did a little over half of what I was originally sentenced to.
You had been to jail before, right?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of times.
How many times?
Well, too many to count on one hand.
This last stay, what was it for specifically?
It was for felony escape 2. I was just way torn back one night. I got pulled over, informed that I was under arrest, told the cop that I wasn't, and I took off and wound up dragging him down the side of the road.
Wait, you dragged a cop down the side of the road?
Yeah, I did.
Like how that, did he try to jump in your car?
He tried to jump into my car. He got there at first, but then he kind of lost his footing, and yeah, it wasn't a pretty scene.
Oh, fuck. And you said, I'm sorry, how long? 300 feet?
Yeah, about.
Wow. Oh my God. So you that's... Shit, dude, that's hardcore. So what was an average day in jail like?
Well, it was really chillaxed, actually. When I first got there, I was in a block that I didn't get out of my room very much. We were locked in our rooms for 20 hours a day. We were only allowed out 4 hours, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. It was pretty much just stand up, make your bed, and wait for the officer to come pass by your room for head count. Then you just kind of chill in your room until you were let out for what was called day room, which was the times when you were let out of your room. And during day room, you just kind of walked around, you watched a little TV, made phone calls. That's the time you'd use to shower if you were going to do so. Yeah, there wasn't very much to it. It wasn't until later during my stay when I got to move to an open dorm that, things were a little bit more chillaxed in there. I mean, we still had head counts. It was more laid back in there.
Okay, yeah, so an open dorm where you're never locked in a cell except for at night, or is it ever locked in a cell?
It's never locked in a cell.
I didn't know those existed. I guess shows what I know about jail, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, now I feel dumb even asking this. So would you describe, especially more so in the open dorms than in the closed ones, but was it like high school in the sense that there are very definite cliques, groups, clubs, whatever you want to call it?
Oh, definitely, except the ones in high school were a little more innocent, if you will. The cliques in jail are best described as, gangs and gang affiliates, and there's a lot of Aryan Brotherhood, EK, Southsiders, all sorts of
Oregon gangs that we don't have. Well, I mean, I guess, like I said, I don't know that much about jail, so we might have in Washington. Hell if I know. So Spidey's not your actual given name. It's a nickname. It's a nickname that you received during your last stay, right?
Yeah, it is actually. It's
How'd you get that nickname?
Everybody in jail kind of has a nickname. Nobody goes by what you're called over the intercom. I got mine because one guy pointed out that, hey, you kind of look like Peter Parker from Spider-Man. Apparently, the group that we were in, they all thought so too, and they took notice of it as soon as he pointed it out, and they all started calling me Spider-Man or Peter Parker, and then it just kind of eventually turned into Spidey.
Wow, I feel like out of all the ways a jail nickname could go, that's actually a pretty cool one. You hear any bad ones?
Not towards me.
Okay, fair enough.
But there's a guy nicknamed Toilet Bowl.
Fuck, how do you end up with a name like Toilet Bowl?
We got bagged breakfasts on the weekends, and he liked to throw his in the toilet bowl and let them soak.
But you mean like just let it sit there and soak?
Yeah, he'd get mad when
fuck?
he'd get mad when people removed it. Don't flush, let it soak.
Oh God, and he talked like that too.
Yes.
So I should probably start this question off by saying that you're really not a big dude. Like, how tall are you?
I'm 5'11".
Really?
Yeah.
5'11", and how much you weigh?
160 pounds.
You're a very slender built dude. And I mean, you have some scars that we're going to get to later. I don't want to say that, I mean, you don't look vulnerable because of your smaller stature and your, I guess, perceived disability. Did people ever try to prey on you?
Actually, the opposite. I didn't think it was going to happen because I got the, feeling that, oh God, I'm definitely going to be picked on hella when I'm in here when I first got sentenced. But no, it was actually quite the opposite. The other inmates kind of formed they had a protectiveness over me almost. It was actually kind of moving. They just all kind of stuck up for me and they're like, don't you fuck with this kid, he's with us.
Because your crimes did involve physically assaulting a police officer. Did anyone ever treat you differently in jail because of that?
Well, the other inmates thought it was really badass, but the corrections officers, they didn't. I noticed that they were just there for a paycheck. That was the type of people they were, so it didn't really matter to them either.
The other inmates think you're cool because you beat up a cop, and the COs don't care.
Yeah, pretty much.
Umatilla County really isn't that big. While you were in the jail, did you see anyone you know?
All the time. Oh my God. I saw people I went to high school with. That's how I described it as.
A high school reunion?
It was a big high school reunion.
How was the food?
The food sucked. Everything was soy. Soy is terrible.
Disagreed. This show loves soy, but continue.
My opinion is that soy is terrible. When everything is made out of soy, you get burnt out on it pretty quick.
If I were on, say, a morning radio talk show on the local rock station, I were just some obnoxious personality, I'd be asking, so Spidey, did you see anyone drop the soap? But this show has a touch of class, believe it or not, so I'm not going to ask you that. But instead, I am going to ask, did you observe any sort of sexual activity in the jail?
Oh, well, I was kind of a part of it.
Okay, would you like to share?
Well, sure. Well, when I was over in the 800 work dorm.
That's the open one, right?
Yes, this is another open dorm.
Okay.
You showered in these big shower rooms, and all of us let whoever's turn it was to shower, we let them shower alone. Well, there's this one guy, and he kept walking back and forth every time someone would get in the shower and staring at, all of us in there trying to check out the size of our junk. A lot of us took notice of this, and it was pissing a lot of the guys off. I took notice of one time that he did it to me, and instead of getting mad about it, I grabbed my member and I turned towards him and I just kind of jerked it at him a couple of times until he quickly glanced away and kind of scurried upstairs.
So you beat your dick at him till he ran away?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Well, hey, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right? All right, but that was the only sexual activity you saw in jail?
Yes.
Okay.
Aside from trying to peek into the girls' dorm when we were back in the 600.
What is this, fucking Porkies?
Yeah, that's how it could be described.
Going back to just jail life, did you see anyone using a fifi? Did you use a fifi? Let me backtrack here. So for those who are uninitiated, a fifi, it's a makeshift pocket pussy. It's a male masturbator, an artificial vagina. So just a fifi. Outside of jail, I know that in high school we both made a couple, and but so yeah, in jail, is that a thing?
It is actually. While we were in the kitchen one day after we were done working, one of my buddies was twisting his sock down to make a fifi. I never saw him use it, thankfully, but I saw him make it.
How about a shiv? You see anyone make or use a shiv?
Not personally, but I heard about people doing so back in a different dormitory from ours, and they got busted and rolled all the way back to the 300 block.
Oh shit, lose a turn and start over.
Yep.
How about Pruno? For those who are uninitiated, Pruno is the type of makeshift alcohol that's common in prisons or jails.
Well, me and my buddy made some Pruno, and it wasn't very good. I don't think we made it right. Made some Pruno with him, and then that same buddy went on to make a different batch of Pruno, and then he too got rolled back.
Ugh, don't get caught.
Yeah.
Now, how about tattooing in jail? Did you see anyone giving tattoos, a makeshift tattoo machine, tattoo ink, anything like that while you were in jail?
No, I didn't see any of that.
While you were locked up, just because I'm sure you see a lot of skin, did you see any cool tattoos?
Oh yeah, I saw plenty. I saw this one. It was a Calvin and Hobbes tattoo, but they were both zombified. It was badass.
Yeah. Did you see any shit go down because someone had the wrong tattoos while you were in jail?
No, I can't say I saw any of that.
Wrapping up this section of the interview, what's one funny story from your stay in the Umatilla County bed and breakfast?
Oh, jeez. Well, I think I already told it, didn't I, when I jerked my dick off at that guy?
Yeah, when you when you beat your dick at him till he ran away.
This one guy that I was hanging out with, he really wanted some of my coffee that I had, and I wasn't going to give him any unless he ate a hot dog out of the drain on the floor. There was a piece of a hot dog in one of the floor drains, and he did.
How much coffee did he get?
A shot, which is not very much.
Oh my god, like and it's not even espresso. It's like a shot of like brewed coffee.
Yeah, it's like a shot of shit coffee is what.
And he ate the hot dog probably tasted better than the fucking coffee.
Probably, actually.
Kind of switching gears here. So I met you when you moved to Pendleton the summer before our junior year of high school in 2011.
Correct.
Switching schools the summer before your junior year of high school. What the hell were you thinking, man?
I really didn't want to go back to my old high school and be made fun of and ridiculed as the shit man.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I had some problems down there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you the story if you want to hear it.
Yeah, sure. Go. I mean, I've heard this story, but please just kind of briefly just describe you and the shit chronicles.
Yeah, me and my friend hung out in the boys' locker room, and one day he thought it'd be funny to take a shit on the floor, and the next day it progressed to taking a shit on the side of the toilet bowl, and the next day it progressed to taking a shit on a piece of paper and throwing it on the mirror, and this eventually progressed down to taking a shit on a piece of paper and leaving it in another dude's locker, an unlocked locker, and this went on for a while before we got caught. I was not shitting. It was
all him. But I'm kind of wondering, like, a man with this sort of obsession with feces at a young age, is he in jail now?
Actually, no. He's actually doing very well. I still keep in contact with him.
Wow, and he's not doing shitty. Okay.
Yeah.
2011, the summer that you moved to Pendleton, and you lived with your you moved in with your grandparents in Pendleton, right?
Yes.
What sort of aspirations did you have for after high school at this point in your life?
I wanted to be a soldier 110%.
And I think you might have just said it with that shit story, but up until this point, what's the most trouble you've been in?
You hit the nail on the head. That was the most trouble I had been in.
Okay. And then, yeah, I met you junior year. At first, we didn't really like each other. But then eventually just,
Yeah, I stepped on your ingrown toenail.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah, and I had a really bad ingrown toenail, and then he stepped on it by accident. It hurt, so I was like, oh, hey, shit happens. I have an ingrown nail. He's like, oh, and then he started fucking stomping on it. So I remember I didn't want to like start a fist fight. So I remember just throwing you into like a bank of lockers, and then I just kept fucking hitting you with my shoulder. It was, oh my God. But then afterward, we kind of, made up, and you invited me to a party that you were throwing while your grandparents were out of town. And oh my God. And then, I mean, pretty much after that, very fast friends. So then kind of leading on, now it's fall of our senior year, probably November of 2012, a little bit farther in the future. Why were you so apprehensive about trying pot the first time?
Well, because pot was the devil. No, I just, it was something that I'd always been told not to partake in. I felt that that was probably a wise thing not to do.
And then after you'd tried pot the first time, comparing it to alcohol, who was king?
Well, there was no king for me. There was, I loved the relaxing, just awesome mind-expanding experience pot offered, but I also loved that gritty, powerful, dark, otherworldly experience alcohol offered me.
So your first experience with prescription drugs, I mean, also my first experience with prescription drugs, it was spring of our senior year, early 2013. Yeah, we were just kind of fucking around in the medicine cabinet. I remember that taking the pills, your idea, crushing up the pills and snorting them as opposed to swallowing, all my idea. That first experience with prescription drugs, how much of an impact do you think that had on the rest of your life?
Retracting a previous statement I made, those were king. Those have had a very significant impact. That opened many doors for me in the drug world.
Speaking of doors in the drug world being open for you, later in the senior year, you started dating and she came from a background that maybe her family, they had more people who were, I guess, more open-minded about drugs. She had several members of the family who were, I guess, in the correctional system. Not that those two are directly related, but I mean, she came from a background in which getting drugs was a lot easier to attain than, say, just you or I on our own. So do you think that had a big impact on the kind of where your life was headed at that point?
Oh, most definitely. I'd say yeah.
The day you graduate high school, how do you feel about drugs?
A lot had changed for me by that point. I still wanted to go in the route that my life was heading, military, clean cut, soldier. I wanted to go in that direction, but at the same time, a lot of my opinions and perspectives and perceptions on things had changed.
Things were definitely changing.
Yeah.
Kind of switching gears. While we were still in high school, eventually we lost our line on prescription drugs a little bit, and we kind of started fucking around with some OTC shit. How about you tell the story about the first time you did Dramamine?
Now that was a fun one.
And I guess I should probably just clarify and say, yeah, Dramamine is that's diamond hydrochloride. It's commonly used as a motion sickness medication, but in larger doses causes fucking trippy hallucinations.
Yes, that was definitely a fun one, though. I remember taking an entire bottle, which they look like little chapstick tubes.
Yeah, I think there's 12 of them in a can. A dime a dozen, dime a dozen.
There's 12 of them in there. I remember taking the whole thing.
I think because you and I both took a full one, right?
Yep, we both took a full one, and we sat in my grandparents' living room, and we had Adult Swim on, but neither of us were paying attention to the TV. We had all the lights off, only the TV on, and we were just laying there. I think you were on the floor, actually, and I was on the black couch, and I remember just the walls melting and the ceiling melting, and it was just the trippiest feeling that one can experience. It was an amazing feeling, but at the same time, it was kind of scary at the same time because I kind of felt like you were dying a little bit.
Oh my God, I remember that one time I saw the girl out the corner of my eye right there in the room, and I freaked the fuck out, and as soon as I turned my head, she was gone. So we did salvia. That was on the last day of high school?
Yeah, I think
somewhere around there.
Yeah,
I mean, it was I guess kind of showing our age here. Salvia was the hot one that all the bad kids did. Tell us about the first time I guess we did salvia.
First time we did salvia. Well, to be honest with you there, I've done a lot of salvia. I've done so many drugs, and a lot of that being salvia, that I can barely remember the first time I did salvia.
Oh, God.
But I remember had to have been one of the first times back in that era with you of doing salvia. We were up at what we called the deity spot.
Oh, okay. That spot out by the airport, right?
Yep.
On the back roads?
Yep. We took a big rip off the bowl, and we'd been smoking pot and everything like that too. And as soon as the salvia hit, looked like clouds looked like they were being fired out of the barrels of rifles, because they're just it was an amazing visual experience. You kind of feel a little tripped out there on salvia, but
I remember when we were in the Jeep, and then I remember looking up and just seeing the street looked like it was from Candyland.
I totally remember that too.
Yeah, dude, I was like, it's Candyland. This is a little bit after high school, but I think we were both our first year of college when we both tried going to college full time. And
Yeah.
I mean, that was the first time you did cocaine, and then I remember immediately after you did cocaine the first time, you're like, dude, you got to try this. And so tell us about the first time you did blow.
First time I did blow, I got it from a friend of mine who was living not far from this other friend of mine. And I got some off of him, and I did it, and oh my God, I felt more powerful than I've ever felt before in my entire life. The only thing that I wanted to do was go, for some reason, paint. It was weird. I also knew that I had to keep it a secret from lots of people in my life at the time, but there was one person who I definitely needed to share this experience with, and it was our host here.
Well, thank you. That is very heartwarming. I do remember that, yeah, right afterward, because I think we were at the pizza place, New York Richie's, was that it?
Yes.
Shit,
yes.
That's right. I don't even think that's there anymore.
No, it's not.
Shit. It always reminded me of fucking Satriale's from The Sopranos. And the fact that I got to do cocaine in a car outside of that makes it even more like Satriale's from the fucking Sopranos. Let's talk about your first apartment. So you, your girlfriend at the time, later fiance, later your first wife, and another, I don't know if I can call him a mutual friend, but we both knew him. So the three of you in a 2-bedroom house. What was your life like at that point when you moved into the first apartment with those 2 other roommates? So the military's completely off the table by this point, right?
Yeah, military's off the table at this point. Decided that's just not the route that I was going to go. I was going to, try and see what working a regular job and living a regular life and having a recreational drug habit would, seeing what kind of life that would offer.
How did people react to such a drastic change? Because, I mean, from this point, you're not even 20 yet. So within 2 years, you've gone from being, kind of the straight-laced, I'm going into the service right after high school to being, kind of the drug guy. How'd people in your life take that?
Not well. It was a change that a lot of my family and friends, they didn't care for. But I had learned that you just gotta kind of do you. And that's what I told everybody when they questioned it.
How'd you feel about such a drastic change in your life? Did you view this as a positive, kind of a negative, or just kind of as just another direction?
Kind of viewed it as another direction, and it's really the saddest thing, but at some point it feels like I just kind of gave up and stopped caring. Whereas that kind of freed me from the whole, oh, I want to go into the service and do what's right type of person that I was. It also kind of killed a lot of my drive.
And then around this time when you were living in that first apartment, we were hanging out a lot, chilling out, doing a lot of drugs. We were both driving to another community around here once a week, if not a couple times a week, and buying pretty significant quantities of pills. I mean, I remember that we'd drive up to Milton and easily come back with, $60-$80 worth of perks. Yeah, I mean, so would you say that at this point in your life is when you first became addicted to drugs?
Yeah, around that time, a little bit before, I became addicted to, definitely the drug, but also addicted to the lifestyle that it brought along. I'm not sure exactly how to put it into words. It's just there was something about that lifestyle that was also just as addicting as the narcotics that I was doing.
This one, not so much narcotics, but the first time you did acid, what was that like?
That was amazing. What I wouldn't do. I actually got 100 hits of DOC for a 40 bag of weed because my ex-wife was working at a motel and this guy had come to check in, and he looked at her and he said, "You look like a weed girl. I forgot my weed."
She does look like a weed girl,
yeah.
Especially at that point. I don't know what she looks like now.
Yeah, "I forgot my weed back home. Could you get me $40 worth of weed and I will pay you back?" And so she had called me up, asked me to go pick up a 40 sack, and I did. We brought it up to him, and in exchange, instead of paying us back with cash, he gave us 100 hits of DOC acid, and my God, it was amazing. It kept us up for nights, going on these weird, hallucinatory, and mind-boggling trips.
I remember you did share some of that with me, and it was a lot of fun. The first time I did acid, I took one hit, and then I guess I was more used to pills and blow at that point, and I was just like, I don't think this is working, man. And so you're like, okay, take another one, and I remember taking 3. I overdid it so fucking badly. I mean, oh my God, dude. I was like tripping for a day and a half, and I wasn't ready for it. It was still a lot of fun, but oh my God, dude. I mean, it was good shit. It was just a little too intense for me at that point in my life.
Did it make you puke too?
What fucking doesn't? I probably made myself puke just in some weird Hank Hill-esque logic. I'm going to induce vomiting to stop the trip. So that first apartment, how'd your lease end?
Me and our roommate were sitting on the couch smoking cigarettes, and the landlord peered his head in through the window, and he saw us and decided that was it. We were done, and right then and there he served the eviction notice.
Were there other factors leading up to this, or were you evicted solely due to smoking cigarettes in the house?
We were evicted due to continuous complaints of cigarette smoking and also the rent being late on 2 occasions.
But besides that, the cops were never called out to the property or anything, right?
No.
Yeah, no one calls a cop in that neighborhood. I feel it. All right, well, let's kind of skip ahead to your marriage. Your wedding, it was awesome. It was a very small ceremony in your grandparents' yard. I officiated it. It was, less than 24 people total, just very close friends, family. It was a nice wedding. How old were you the day you got married?
God, I was 20 years old.
Oh shit, that's right. I was 19, about to turn 20. Was there any doubt in your mind, the day of your wedding, was there any doubt in your mind that it might not last forever, it might not work?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. See, right before I had gotten married, there had just been some things arise that really would make you want to back out of a wedding. But I wanted to proceed full steam ahead, and according to her, so did she. But, yeah.
You both had cold feet, but you didn't want to admit it.
Pretty much.
How long did that marriage last?
A month.
1 month?
1 month.
And that marriage lasted 1 month. Would you say that overall drugs played a part in that, the end of your marriage?
Oh yeah. She was the only one working. I was staying home every day trying to get high. it wasn't just, it just wasn't going to work. It was one of those relationships just was destined to fail. And
so there were other factors besides drugs at play.
yes.
As your marriage was kind of in its final days, kind of crumbling, would you say that your reliance on drugs grew?
I'd say so.
All right, and then kind of as your marriage was ending, you ended up taking a trip to see your mom and your stepfather down in Austin, right, Texas?
Yeah.
You didn't exactly come back on schedule. How about you go ahead and tell us what happened?
As you can pretty much gather, at this point I'm already really into drugs. I had also enlisted in the military again because, you know,
Ooh, excuse me. Okay, I should probably backtrack a little bit. While we were in high school, senior year, you had enlisted in the Army, but the plan was that they'd be sending you to basic after you graduated, and long story short, you had a window to pull out, and you ended up pulling out right before you were supposed to leave for basic, right?
Yes.
Like, you were fully processed with MEPS and everything, I remember that.
Yep.
So around the time your marriage is ending, you've re-enlisted with the Army after, I'm not going to say you bitched out, but you bitched out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's call a spade here. And it was actually the National Guard that I went with as opposed to the active duty Army. It was actually the National Guard. So I had re-enlisted at this point, waiting for my September ship date for the National Guard. But I'm also heavily addicted to pills, just off in a bad way. And I went down to Texas to see my mom, and since I didn't have any of my dealers down there, I had to come up with pills, you know, the way that I had kind of learned to do really well back up here in Pendleton, which was doctor shopping.
Oh, God, yeah, there's some stories there.
You know, Austin is like a mecca for doing doctors because there's a hospital on every street corner down there. So if you want a doctor shop, go to Austin. I had done it too much, or something happened. I can't remember exactly what the details are because of what happened following this. I had gotten caught somehow and informed that the police had been called. So I took off because I was not about to go down in Austin, Texas for a drug crime. Tried to cross the road and got hit by a truck.
Fuck, dude. You died like twice at the scene, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the more significant injuries you sustained in that collision?
Well, I broke damn near every bone in my body, including shattering my pelvis completely.
So you shattered your pelvis, then what else?
Broke my skull, or cracked my skull open with a diffused and sustained a diffused axonal brain injury, which is one of the deadliest forms of brain injury one can sustain. I had to have my spleen removed because it was turned into hamburger. I also lacerated my liver and the kidney on the right hand side of my body, and still do have a bunch of nerve damage throughout my my left leg and left side of my body.
Shit, so I mean that thing fucked you up. You got hit by a fucking truck. Yeah, it fucked
Yeah.
you up. So how long until you could return back to Oregon? Because you were, I mean, like I said, yeah, I mean, you came pretty close to passing away. I mean, you did die like twice before they got you to the hospital, and you came pretty close to passing for a while there. So, I mean, how long were you gone for?
Let's see, I got hit in August and come back till January, so...
I think that's, I mean, August to January, that's
Yeah,
like, what,
yeah.
5 months?
Yeah.
It's a long time, but it seems like it should be longer, you know? I mean, 5 months for those type of injuries, that's pretty miraculous.
That is.
Okay, and then when you returned up here to Oregon, did it feel like you had gotten a second chance, more or less?
Yeah, I'll say it definitely felt like I got, you know, I got a second chance in everything. It feels like I got a big do-over.
So once you came back and you essentially kind of started your do-over, how long until you started doing drugs again?
Well, I never really quit doing drugs. I achieved what I had wanted to achieve in a sense after I got hit by a truck because I was after pain meds, and I got lots of pain meds by getting hit by the truck. Well, when I got out of the hospital and I was staying with my dad in Alabama, I had, you know, a prescription for pain meds, and that prescription followed me all the way back up to Oregon until it ran out, and then I just started doing drugs that you can buy from dealers again, such as morphine, weed, and then eventually meth.
What was your first experience with meth like? I was going to ask about heroin first, but since you named off meth, let's just go ahead and talk about the first time you did meth.
My first experience with meth was, have you ever felt like you are the king of the universe entirely. In all of its entirety, I should say.
Never while I'm awake.
Well, my first experience with meth was like any other tweaker's first experience with meth. You feel like you're God. You feel unstoppable.
Okay, and then how about the first time you did H? What was that like?
Well, that was like doing a pill on steroids right there. It felt great. Everything was awesome, except you do a little too much and you wind up throwing up. And that's what happened to me, actually.
Oh, so you threw up this time.
Yep, I puked this time.
Of course, for this, you just snorted it, right? Or did you smoke it, or?
No, I did a wet shot.
Oh, wait, that's the one where it's like a booger and you just kind of push it up your nose, right?
Kind of. You do it up in a syringe like what you'd shoot into your veins, but instead of shooting it into your, veins and poking yourself in the arm, you just stick the syringe in your nose and you eject the fluid into your nose and you snort it up that way.
Wow, that sounds unpleasant.
It kind of was.
So out of all the drugs you've done, what's your favorite?
Meth.
Meth?
100%.
What drug was hardest to quit?
Meth.
I was kind of expecting that, but I wasn't sure. Well, this is the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast, so it'd be kind of fucked up if we didn't talk about tattoos. Spidey, what was your first tattoo?
It was just an anchor. I'm not sure why I got it, but it was just something to get, and it looks really nice, and it was...
You were a kid and you wanted a tattoo?
And I was with my best friend and my soon-to-be future wife.
Spidey, I didn't go with you to get your first tattoo. You're thinking of
Oh my god.
No, you rat motherfucker. I got you, you son of a bitch. I love you, man.
I love you.
Okay, but my second tattoo, the one on my chest, you and I think probably too, you guys did go with me. I remember that I went to the shop. I was the asshole who brought 3 friends. It was my second tattoo, so I guess if I have an excuse, it's that I didn't know. But yeah, I brought 3 of my fuckhead friends to the shop with me to come get tattooed. They weren't getting tattooed. I was just getting my second tattoo. But I remember you guys left to go get food like right before they brought me back. And then by the time that, you guys got back, I was like halfway done. So you're like, yeah, we're just going to wait out here.
I don't remember going to get food. I don't remember you not being there that first. I could have swore it was you.
No, because you and got tattoos. That like the entire time you guys lived together, I don't remember him showering. And I remember like after he had that tattoo 3 days, I went to the house and like I'd already seen yours, I already seen hers, and I was like, hey bro, show me yours. And it was fucking scabby gabby. I was like, dude, what the fuck?
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
Like honestly, it looked like poster like someone took poster paint and like painted it on his leg, and it was like cracking off. It was nasty, dude.
Well, that's probably because he had something from sleeping with.
Isn't he dead now?
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that's still nuts to think about. Okay, so then how about your second tattoo? What was that?
My second tattoo was, I think, is this little K right here on my finger.
Okay, and that was for a girl, right? That's an ex-girlfriend tattoo.
Yeah, it is. It's an ex-girlfriend tattoo. Yeah.
Say no more. So, and then you have what, 4 tattoos right now?
Yep.
And you want to get more. All right.
Definitely.
So the first 2 were done in shops. The first one was done in the same shop my first one was done at. Second one was done at a shop. Not a shop I ever was at personally or saw, but a shop. This third one, not so much, right?
Nope. The third and the fourth ones were...
well, here, tell me about the third before we go on to the fourth.
It was done in a drug dealer of mine's house. It was actually the night that I shot up meth for the first time. I'd often describe it as the night that I sold my soul. I wanted a tattoo and I paid him $30 for this 8-ball tattoo that I have on my forearm, and not gonna lie, he did a pretty decent job for just being a...
For being a drug dealer who moonlights as a scratcher, he did a good job. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
But for a tattoo artist who sells drugs, he's doing shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and well, how about that fourth tattoo then?
The fourth one, it pisses me off because it's the opening verse to one of my favorite songs, which is Complete by G-Eazy. It says, and fuck whoever thought it wasn't that hard. Anybody who knows the song, can put the tune to the words, and you can see why this would be a tattoo that a fan would want to get. But the guy who I got it from, he was so gone when he gave it to me.
No, gone, you mean like gacked out?
Gacked out, because this was another tattoo that I received by one of my drug dealer friends, and I had spent like $900 that night. I got a $1,300 tax return and spent $900 of it that night just on drugs and hotels. And
Go big or go home.
Exactly. He misspelled thought. He spelled it THOGHT. And if you know me, I'm a huge grammar Nazi, and that having a misspelled word on my arm just irritates the fuck out of me.
I'm sorry, you mean you didn't make him write out the stencil first? He didn't make you look at the stencil first and say, okay, is this what you want?
No, there's a lot of mistakes made that night.
I feel it, man. Text tattoos can be very difficult even for actual professionals. So, but oh man. Are you in the mindset with your tattoos? Like, is it something you kind of like look at, it serves as a reminder, yada yada, or are they something that somewhere down the line you'd be interested in maybe covering up or redoing?
A little bit of both. Definitely serve as a reminder, but I don't want that reminder there forever. So I'm definitely looking to get the U penciled in at some point to fix the word thought on, the G-Easy tattoo. And then for my hand, I want to get a Jack or a J, a K, or a Q, and an A on my other fingers to make a full suit of cards. So that it's no longer about my ex-girlfriend.
I like that, man. So with this most recent conviction, are you a convicted felon now?
Yes.
What other sort of lasting repercussions are there from this incident for you?
For the next 10 years, I won't be able to legally operate a motor vehicle, which kind of sucks because I love cruising along. But like I said, legally operate a motor vehicle. Can't have firearms. I'm not subject to the draft, so that...
Oh, shit. Well, so even if you wanted to be a soldier, you can't anymore.
Yeah, I know.
You done fucked up, AA Ron.
I done fucked up.
And then I guess you're like on probation right now, right?
Yeah.
Or we'll find out in the morning?
Yeah, we'll find out in the morning at my court date. Might gotta go back to jail. Who knows?
So thanks again for recording this interview tonight.
No problem, man.
Okay, but yeah, with probation and everything, like, do you know how long that would theoretically be lasting you, or?
3 years.
And I guess you'd be monitored for drugs and alcohol, that type of thing, so that...
Yep.
Going back to 2011, it's the summer before we start junior year. What's one piece of advice that you would give to yourself at 17?
Don't be a bitch.
Don't be a bitch. That's some good advice right there, man. I mean, hell, I think anyone at any age can really appreciate that. Switching gears a little bit, but same vein. So you're allowed to go back to any point in your life. You have one consecutive hour, not 60 minutes to divide up, but one consecutive hour, one shot. You can go back to any point in your life and get a do-over. Or if you don't want a do-over, I guess you can go back as you are now and sort of try to influence things. What do you do? When do you go? What do you do?
I'd probably go back to the night before I drugged that cop down the road, and I'd probably tell myself not to do it because not because of going through all this is scary or anything like that, but because you really fucked a lot of things up, and there's a lot that I miss that I'll probably never have again. So probably just say don't do it.
Just don't do it. Spidey, thanks so much for being on the show. We loved having you, man. Real quick, before we go here, we do this on every episode. Is there anyone you might want to shout out? Anyone who might be listening to the show? An artist? Anyone you want to say hello to?
Hi, Mom.
Hey, you know what? I dig it, man. That is perfect. All right. Well, once again, yeah, this is Austin Larson with the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast. Spidey, thank you again so much for appearing on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks again, Spidey. That was some great stuff, man. This interview ended on a happy note. Spidey's court appearance went really well, and at press time, he is a free man. He's a good friend, he's a great guy, and he's a huge fan. I'm sure this won't be the last we've heard from him. Our next official episode is the vacation/travel tattoos episode. I'm starting to record interviews for that here pretty soon, and I'm really excited. These bonus episodes don't necessarily have to be straight profiles or interviews per se. Is there a question you have about tattoos? Maybe there's a trend you've noticed. Do you have an idea for an episode? Please go ahead and get at me. I've already had people send me ideas for segments that they would like to see featured on the show, or even just cool tattoo stories that they've had happen to them or their friends, stuff like that. So once again, thanks for all the feedback, thanks for all the love and support. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Austin Larson, and this has been the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast.
You're listening to the Ex-Girlfriend Tattoo Podcast.